It's the end of the world as we know it, at least in video games, possibly. Today we're talking about 20 post-apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic adjacent games that we're just looking forward to seeing more of. We got 20 games to talk about, all kinds of games, so let's get started off with number 20. Ashfall is an upcoming third-person shooter. It's like massively multiplayer, run-gun, looter shooter set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Like literally, according to the developers, artificial intelligence has risen and launched a nuclear weapon against humanity. If I had $1 for every time I heard about that scenario, I'd be rich at this point. But still, this sets the stage for a pretty big-looking PvE, PvP looter shooter with scrappy soldiers, ramshackle outposts and encampments, and a lot of mystery behind it. As of right now, it has a planned early access release at some point this year. We don't know when exactly. There have been some early impressions of this game online, and it seems like people aren't loving it. It seems like it's still going to need some work, but I think the premise and the setting does have a lot of potential. There are other games similar to this, like Once Human, that I didn't really enjoy, but I was totally wrong. It seems like people are really enjoying it and it popped off. So you never really know with these types of games. We have to just wait and see what the deal is with Ashfall, but hopefully we know for sure soon. At the very least, it has a big publisher behind it, NetEase, so hopefully it'll amount to something. Next, over at number 19, we have A Quiet Place, The Road Ahead. We're changing gears a little bit with something a little bit more simple, a little less playable, but still an interactive story set in the world of, or the film universe of A Quiet Place. This is a first-person narrative horror adventure all about survival. Obviously, if you know anything about A Quiet Place, you know that the world has been destroyed by an otherworldly force, creatures that are attracted to sound. So it's up to you to outwit these creatures in the daylight, in the dark, all kinds of spooky settings, and just get through and survive. Apparently, there's a whole through line, a whole story here of like family drama and conflicts, and that's interesting because during the end of the world, people are still people, I guess, at the end of the day, and people are going to have people problems, but you know, you got to make sure the monsters don't kill you. It's being published by Saber Interactive. They have a good history, and judging from the trailers and videos here, it looks like it might amount to something pretty cool. A Quiet Place as a franchise just keeps hitting, so we're hoping this one nails it. Next, over at number 18, we have something a little weirder. It's Showa, American Story. We've talked about this one quite a bit, and to be honest, we don't know what the deal is with this one. It's a very small project. We haven't heard a lot of updates about it, and you know, it could be a total weird, bizarre disaster, but we like the concept here. It's a kind of 80s B-movie themed adventure where Japan has taken over the United States, but then seemingly the end of the world happened. It's a zombie apocalypse. The countryside, all the places you explore are ruined, and it's up to you to go through it as this badass chick doing third-person action combat with like guns and melee. It's centered around kind of being a road trip adventure through this wasteland, and it could be cool, but like I said, we haven't really heard anything new from it in a while, but still, we're hoping this amounts to a good, weird, quirky adventure through a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Next, over at number 17, we have Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Hideo Kojima is continuing the story of Sam Porter Bridges and the whole gang with the sequel to Death Stranding 2, a game that took place in a world very much post-apocalypse. The world is essentially fractured. The United States is a mess. The remaining survivors are living underground, and above ground there's like haunted, spooky ghosts, a rain that will instantly age people, a bunch of stuff going on. So Death Stranding 2 is continuing those vibes, but we're going even deeper. I don't really want to spoil anything with the first Death Stranding, but here it just seems like things are really ramping up, and I just hope there's still more cool exploration of a weird, mysterious, lonely land. That was my favorite aspect of the original game. That bit every once in a while when you stumble across an old abandoned town or building or something like that was interesting. Either way, Death Stranding 2 on the beach isn't coming anytime soon. We're expecting to see it in like 2025. Next, over at number 16, we have Pioner, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We don't know too much about this one, but it is a first-person action MMORPG. It's apparently planning to eventually go multi-platform. As of right now, it is slated for 2024, and it just looks cool. There's some gameplay floating around out there that the developers put out, and to me, it almost looks like a more fantastical Metro game, you know, like with a little bit more sci-fi to it, if you can believe it or not, but with other people. And honestly, I think that's a recipe for something potentially good. There's weird monster dogs, creatures, cool enemy encounters, seemingly zombies, but also lots of interesting abandoned wastelands. If they can really nail the RPG elements of this could be pretty cool, so we're going to keep an eye on it. Next over at number 15, we have Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. We've talked about this one in some of our zombie roundup videos because we're really interested in it. It's a survival game, but in a 2D setting. You play as and manage survivors after a zombie apocalypse. You're creeping through a blown out, abandoned 1980s Texas, scrounging for supplies, just trying to survive and avoid zombies as much as you can, and keep the survivors safe. You play as various different people, you move through some pretty beautiful and realistic environments, and I don't know, I just think this one's got a really good feel, a good vibe to it, and an interesting spin on things. We've seen so many post-apocalyptic zombie survival type games, but one with a 2D setting about managing the survivors, like maybe with a little bit of a dash of the game This War of Mine, like it's just an interesting spin. As of right now, we know it's releasing in 2025, and we're looking forward to checking it out. Next over at number 14, we have Ascent of Ashes. This is a game set in a post-apocalyptic dystopia, but it's actually a colony sim. It's top-down, and it's about building out your bases and keeping everybody safe. It's got real-time with pause combat, so there's a good layer of strategy to these things. You're taking on aliens, you're taking on enemy soldiers and survivors. So there seems like there's going to be a lot of depth there, but when you couple that with building out your colonies and managing survivors and trying to farm and really trying to survive, it just seems like a unique blend of cool gaming concepts. The art style, while kind of like a little cartoony and cel-shaded, still looks gritty and weird enough that I think it might just help this one really stand out. As of right now, it doesn't have a release date, but it is slated to be hitting early access soon. Next over at number 13, we have Arc Raiders. This is the free-to-play third-person PvPvE shooter centered around extraction gameplay. Now, it's been a minute since we've heard from this one. The developers have seemingly gone a little quiet as they work on it, but it is from Embark Studios, the people behind The Finals, which is a really good multiplayer game. So Arc Raiders is something a little bit different, but it is very much in a post-apocalyptic future. It is an extraction shooter, so the biggest thing is, of course, you're rummaging and scavenging for supplies, and you're trying to protect those supplies and get them home. What really still always has stood out to me with this one is like the environments and like the stunning beauty of this wasteland, and also the design of the characters and the weapons. It seems like it's got a little bit of a different quirk to it. Like it doesn't just feel like every other third-person post-apocalyptic shooter we see all the time. Arc Raiders might be a little different, but we still have a lot of questions. Still, we're hoping we see something from it soon. Now, next over at number 12, we have ExeKiller. This one has been on my radar for a while. This is just awesome. I mean, look at this game. The concept on paper, like, it really, really works. It's a first-person Western adventure in a post-apocalyptic alternate timeline. It's got a lot of futuristic Blade Runner elements, but clearly the world ended. Everything is a wasteland. So while you have some cool gadgets and a cool sci-fi hover car, essentially, you're just a badass cowboy in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Apparently, there's going to be character progression and varied story choices. Like, the game's gonna have some substantial RPG elements. It's slated to not be fully open world, but kind of hub-based open world, and we're just really excited to see how this one is going to play out, because the ideas on display here are absolutely awesome. They're like a sci-fi nerd's wet dream. As of right now, ExeKiller is just slated for sometime in 2025. Now, next over at number 11, we have State of Decay 3. Undead Labs is finally out of the woodwork, showing off a new trailer for this one this year. We've been waiting for State of Decay 3 for a long time. It was announced, went dark for a while, and in 2024, we got a new trailer from Xbox and the developers, and it looks like more State of Decay. It's about managing survivors, supplies, in a zombie wasteland, and we're excited to see how they really change that formula. We don't know how exactly for sure, but it's probably going to be more zombie killing action, surviving with friends, managing those survivors and some of the tedium that comes with that, and we're just excited to see what they've been cooking up for so long. Next over at number 10, we have John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. This one is just really cool. On the one hand, it's like a co-op, good time shooter where you and a few friends are just gunning down hordes and hordes of zombies and monsters in a post-apocalyptic zombie wasteland. But the fact that it's also centered around vehicles makes it a little bit more interesting. You're keeping this truck safe. You're driving through these environments on this badass truck. You're using weapons on it, and it just seems like it can shake up what is at this point a pretty familiar formula. You know, we've played Back 4 Blood, Left 4 Dead, or any other type of horde shooter with zombies, but the idea after the end of the world of like having a vehicle to keep you safe and the vehicle is like your main thing and that being a gameplay thing is just a great concept. Not to mention the fact that it's also got John Carpenter's name attached to it. Honestly, even if he just got paid for this, I respect it because he's a gamer, like very much on record a player of video games, and also a creator of some of the greatest horror movies of all time, like Halloween or The Thing. So I don't know, to me it just sounds like a good combo. It looks like a fun, lighthearted good time, and as of right now, we don't know when it's coming, but I can't wait to get my hands on it. Next, over at number 9, we have a game called Sand. This is a really big, wide-open PvPvE game where it's the end of the world, but it was a world that was ruled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Here, that rule is long gone, and the world is just a dried-out, hot desert wasteland. It's a first-person shooter. You're engaging enemies and opponents, and you're scrounging for loot and upgrading stuff, but the clever spin here is that you're building these giant walking bases. You're keeping these things powered, you're keeping these things moving around so you can survive, get around the desert wasteland, and to get to more abandoned cities and explore more and get more loot to upgrade your thing even more. The desert environment is hostile, so this thing is required to survive. But of course, other players and enemies out there also have these, so not only are you doing first-person shooting, but you're also engaging in almost like ship battles, like pirate ship battles, where you can crash these things together, board opponents, take theirs over. It's just a really cool idea. It's a good spin on like what we've seen a million times before. PvPvE, you know, open world wasteland survival crafting stuff. Here, you essentially all are running around on the giant spiders from the Wild Wild West movie. Does anyone remember that? I don't know, maybe it's just me. But as of right now, Sand doesn't have a release date, but maybe it's something worth keeping an eye on. Next, over at number 8 is The Forever Winter. It's a co-op, tactical, survival horror shooter. You're going around this war-torn wasteland, surviving, killing, looting. It's apparently going to have PvE elements, and it's going to be a third-person shooter, but the interesting spin here, because, you know, frankly, we've heard all those words before, is the setting. You're doing all this stuff, you're scrounging, you're looting, you're shooting, all in the shadow of a massive ongoing battle. The world is still being torn apart by these giant war machines duking it out above you. So it's you, the survivors, in the ruins of all this. Think like the early Terminator movies with the survivors in the future just living in bombed out buildings, waging guerrilla warfare. Here, you're mowing down monsters, robots, and they've just got some really cool mech, character, creature designs that are worth checking out. Seems like it's going to be skill-based, challenging, but interesting. As of right now, it has no release date or window or anything like that, but we're hoping we hear more soon because the idea is, frankly, awesome. Next, over at number 7, we have Frostpunk 2. I've been excited about this one for a long time, and this is a unique one on this list because it's the only post-apocalyptic game that's really a full turn-based city builder strategy style game. In Frostpunk 2, you're managing a civilization, you're building a city after the end of the world, after the world has essentially frozen over. Think kind of like the Snowpiercer world. Here, you have to worry about keeping citizens fed, alive, but also warm because the world is so cold. Now, with the newest game, the second one, there's going to be more elements like dealing with individual characters, getting to know these citizens and their conflicts even more, fighting over resources, and also, of course, tons of stressful decisions. The Frostpunk games are so unique because, unlike a game like Civ or SimCity or anything like that, you don't really feel the weight of your decisions. Frostpunk really makes you feel the pain of leadership. The fact that every decision you make, even if it's a good one, something's still going to bite you in the ass at some point. The first game just did that really, really well and made it feel special, and we're hoping that Frostpunk 2 can carry those ideas even further. As of right now, we know it's releasing September 20th, 2024. Next, over at number 6, we have Outbreak Island, a first-person game where you control a lone survivor trapped on an abandoned island. There's some sort of weird abandoned volcano in the middle of the island and a sort of temporal anomaly going on, but in short, it's summoning a bunch of scary monsters and you need to defend yourself and fight and survive. It's an open-world sandbox survival horror game. You've seen these a million times before, but Outbreak Island is a little different because it's got an interesting night and day cycle where, you know, during the day, it's all about just building, thriving, living. At night is when the creatures come out to fight you. But you're building up a full proper house, shelter, crafting weapons and stuff like that, but also there's a garage in that house and you can customize your truck. Your truck is your main tool for venturing out and gathering equipment, whether it's crafting resources or a quick escape plan. Like, your truck is your thing. And playing other games similarly recently that have had that type of vehicle focused element, I think it's a really good thing to add into a sandbox survival zombie game. The publisher behind this has worked on some interesting games like Breath Edge and Void Train, so it knows how to do creative spins on familiar products. We're excited to see where this one goes. Next, over at number 5, we have Metro Awakening. Metro Awakening is a VR Metro game, but damn if it doesn't look uncompromising. This looks like a one-to-one Metro experience strapped to your face. And frankly, I think that's just what a lot of people want, especially fans of VR and fans of the series. To live and exist and fight in this very unique wasteland is definitely something I think some players are definitely going to be willing to try out. Here you got the gadgets, you got the weapons, you got the tension, you got the beautiful environments, and it's from the developers behind Arizona Sunshine, a team that I think definitely knew what they were doing. No release date at the time of making this video, but we know Metro Awakening is coming in 2024. Next, over at number 4, we have Gears of War E-Day. If there's any game that takes place in a post-apocalyptic ruined war zone, it's a Gears of War game. And a Gears of War game that serves as a prequel to the original just really scratches that itch. So the newly announced Gears of War E-Day is taking the franchise back to its roots, seemingly centered around Marcus Phoenix, the original protagonist of the original trilogy. In E-Day, it stands for Emergence Day, or the beginning of the chaos, the start of the Locust Horde invasion. So that has a lot of interesting ramifications, but most importantly, it's just a regular old Gears of War game. The developers said that they are very much creating a regular style Gears of War adventure, seemingly going back to that Gears of War 1 feel. They're going a little bit grittier, they're going a little bit darker, and for me, that's just what the doctor ordered. All we got was a little cinematic teaser trailer for this game. It's still probably going to be long in the works and a while before we actually see anything of it, but we're looking forward to it. Next, over at number 3, we have Terminator Survivors. Here's the deal. It's right after Judgment Day, and it's a big multiplayer survival adventure where you and some friends survive against the machines in the aftermath of Judgment Day. So that's really cool. I think as a Terminator fan, I love that concept. This makes perfect sense for a game. It's you against Skynet in a big old sandbox survival playground. Now, how well are they going to actually tie Terminator mechanics to this? How much is it going to feel authentically Terminator? I don't know for sure, but I really hope they nail it because the machines are an interesting enemy, and if they can take some of those concepts and make it feel like not just another sandbox survival game, the publisher, Nacon, potentially has something really interesting on their hands here. We still haven't seen a ton of gameplay, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this one shakes out. As of right now, it has a release date of October 24th, 2024. Next, down at number 2, we have Atomfall. This is a first-person survival action game that is apparently, according to the developers, inspired by real events. It's set 5 years after the Windscale nuclear disaster in northern England. So that makes for a very unique setting for a game like this. From what we got from the initial reveal trailer, it seems like a very quirky post-apocalyptic setting, a bit Bioshocky, a bit more sci-fi and strange, and we're into that, especially with the Northern England setting. That's just cool. It's from developers Rebellion, the people behind the Zombie Army games and the Sniper Elite games, and honestly, at this point, I think they know what they're doing. Atomfall seems like something a little bit different for them, and I'm really excited to see what they cooked up. As of right now, no release date other than just the year 2025. Now finally, down at number 1, you probably know it was going to be our number 1 on a list of upcoming post-apocalyptic games. It's Stalker 2: Heart of Chornobyl. This one has been long in the works, long delayed, a very difficult development cycle. The developers have stuck with it, and pretty soon we're getting a follow-up to the classic PC franchise. The original Stalker on PC, there was nothing else like it. And it really kicked off a whole different style of game. So we're looking forward to Stalker 2 really bringing it all back home. You, as a stalker, surviving in an irradiated wasteland, dealing with scientific anomalies, scrounging for resources, fighting for survival, trading with survivors. The game looks absolutely gorgeous graphically, but we're really hoping that it still has that old school PC feel to it. Either way, the zone, the vibe of it, the atmosphere, the setting, all that is something that we're really looking forward to exploring. The game has been delayed once again, so make note, it is still seemingly releasing in 2024 now with the release date of November 20th. So those are 20 upcoming post-apocalyptic games of various different types and genres, and I always say it here, we couldn't fit all of them on this list, so I'd love to hear your personal picks down in the comments. Any type of post-apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic adjacent game you got your eye on, let us know. If you like this video, maybe you learned about a game or two, clicking the like button does help us, we appreciate that. But we also put out videos every single day, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.